Welcome back to Hannity. So the administration continues to brush off the latest advances made by ISIS as the Islamists continue capturing key cities in Syria and Iraq. Not all Americans, however, are willing to do the same. Joining us now from the ground in Syria is a former U.S. Army vet who joined the fight against ISIS in Syria. Jordan Matson is back with us. So this week alone, between Ramardi and Syria, they're making huge gains. The administration says that their strategy is working. Is it working?
They invested in the Iraqi army, who time and time again has failed them. Just like in Mosul, when they threw down their weapons and ran away, again they've run away in Ramardi and given them new tanks and new American weapons that the taxpayers have paid for. And now again we have to bomb them and spend more taxpayer money bombing them. ISIS is picking opponents that don't really have the will to fight or have a very weak will to fight. So they've been driven out of the Kurdish areas, and we continue to make gains in both Syria and Iraq against them. But now they're turning their strategy southwards towards opponents who won't put up such a fight.
Colonel North compared the strikes that the administration is using with what they used during the surge, and he said it's like 800 to 1. In other words, that there's not a massive American use of force here. So why would we expect this policy to work? But they claimed yesterday, the White House, that their plan is working. It's not, is it? So, I mean, that's the point. They're not really showing a use of force. Explain what you see.
I've called this the cost-effective bombing campaign. They're dragging this out. We could have ended this a long time ago. With the current way things are going, this will continue for a great deal of time just because we're not even putting the people on the ground to mark targets in the vast quantities that we play. We are tying our hands, both Iraq and Syria, where there is so much more that we could be doing to make these bombs more accurate and to increase the bombing. If you just want to stick to just doing that, there's so much more we could be doing that we're not doing.
All right, Jordan, thank you so much. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir.
And joining me now with more reaction to the growing ISIS threat, the author of the brand new book, The Great War of Our Time, the CIA's fight against terrorism from al-Qaeda to ISIS. Former CIA Deputy Director Mike Morell is with us. Josh Earnest was asked yesterday if the strategy against the Islamic State is a success. He said, overall, yes. We can lose Tikrit, Mosul, Fallujah, and Ramardi, and now larger portions of Syria, and they're going to say it's a success?
Yeah, Sean, so I'm going to say one thing that you like and one thing you don't, right?
Yeah.
The one thing that you won't like is I think that the strategy in Iraq, right, is the only strategy that we can pursue over the long term, which is the Iraqis have to win this thing themselves, right? Which means the Iraqi...
I'm not disagreeing with that.
The Iraqi forces have to do this. We have to train them. You know, they were trained once. Former Prime Minister Maliki destroyed that military, and now we have to put it back together.
But the question, everyone's asking about 2003. Isn't the real question now, knowing what we know now, President Obama, Madam Secretary, do you regret pulling out our troops for political reasons? In other words, if we would have kept training forces on the ground, if we would have kept intelligence forces on the ground, I don't think ISIS would have taken these cities. Am I right about that?
So, 2011, at the end of 2011, when the U.S. military left the country, AQI, which was the predecessor to ISIS, was at its weakest point. It was at its nadir. As soon as we left, they started to rebound. They started to rebound because the military pressure came off of them, and they started to rebound because Prime Minister Maliki, without the U.S. there to babysit him, started making a whole rash of bad political decisions with alienated Sunnis.
All right, so, but the bottom line is pulling out was the mistake. In other words, we should not have pulled out early. George Bush warned us that exactly what would happen, and he was right.
The bottom line is AQI would never have rebounded had we stayed there in some number.
But here's the point. Now, we had Debbie Lee on last night. She lost her son, a Navy SEAL, in Ramardi. What did Josh Earnest say yesterday? What, are we going to set our hair on fire every time we have a setback? Right. And I'm thinking, all the American blood, nearly 5,000 Americans died here. Right. And because we politicize these wars, I think American military families have a right to ask why. Why would we give up those cities that we won? And I don't think there's any excuse except the war was politicized by Obama and others. Am I right?
I'm not getting into politics, you know, Sean.
Well, politics matters. 5,000 guys died.
Sean, my job as an intelligence officer, right, is to look overseas, look at what's happening, walk into the president, National Security Team, Congress, and say, here's what's going on, here are the problems, here's the way to think about it.
Here's another way, okay.
Over to you, okay, whether you like what I say or not.
Did we betray these troops that died there? Did we betray intelligence officers that did what they were told was legal? Did we betray them as a country? We asked them to die, they died. We asked them to fight, they fought. They fought and they died. Then, you know, intelligence officials now, they did their interrogations. They were told it's legal.
Right.
You don't see a betrayal of these men? I do.
Right. I feel very strongly about this enhanced interrogation issue, as you know, very, very strongly. My guys were told by the President of the United States
it was legal?
That it was legal and that they were to do it, and that was approved by the President of the United States, and it was approved by senior members of Congress, both parties.
Barack Obama says we tortured them.
I don't like that word. I don't like that word because it implies that my guys are torturers, and they're not, because they were told at the time it was legal and was not torture.
So if we left troops on the ground, intelligence and training troops, and did more enhanced interrogation, we'd be better off.
I wouldn't go there with enhanced interrogation. I don't think we need to do enhanced interrogation anymore. I think post 9/11 period was very, very special when we were capturing the most elite guys with the best information who had counter-interrogation training. I think that was a different time.
And that interrogation helped us find bin Laden. True or false?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
All right. I love the book. Well written. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. In my next life, I want to be in the CIA. Coming up, U.S. intelligence officials released some of the documents recovered during the bin Laden raid. The man who killed bin Laden, Rob O'Neill, joins us next with reaction. Later, Hillary gets pretty testy with our own Ed Henry yesterday. So our question is this: should reporters boycott her campaign until she starts answering questions on a regular basis? That and more straight ahead.